The old town of Grey Hollow had always been shrouded in tales of the unimaginable. Surrounded by dense, fog-laden woods, it wasn't unheard of for locals to whisper about the creatures that inhabited the shadows, especially as twilight fell. One legend in particular gripped the townsfolk with terror. The Lurker of Grey Hollow, a wendigo said to haunt the very depths of the forest. Despite the warnings, a group of teenagers, bold and eager to debunk the myths, decided to venture into the woods one frigid October night. Among them was Ellen, known for her skepticism towards the supernatural. She was determined to demonstrate that the Lurker was merely a figment of fearful imaginations. As night descended, the group lit a small campfire and laughed bravely, sharing ghost stories meant to coax away their nerves. Shadows danced around them as the flames flickered wildly, but there was an uneasy tension in the air. The wind howled mournfully through the trees, a dissonant echo that felt like the land itself was crying out. "Let's go deeper," Ellen suggested, emboldened by the false bravado that only youth can offer. Her friends, caught between fear and thrill, followed her into the dark embrace of the woods. Each step seemed to pull them further from safety, the silhouettes of towering pines forming a claustrophobic barrier behind them. They walked for what felt like an eternity until they reached a clearing. At its center stood a decayed cabin, its windows shattered and doors hanging askew. It was there the tales told of a cursed spirit whispering through the walls, inviting, yet foreboding. "Creepy," Mike said, raising an eyebrow. "I'm sure it's filled with rats or something," he chuckled nervously. But Ellen stepped closer, curiosity overwhelming her apprehension. Suddenly, a chill crept over the group, sending shivers down their spines. They could hear something, a rustling beyond the protective circle of their flashlights. Ellen, buoyed by her need for proof, called out, "Is anyone there?" Her voice echoed back to them, swallowed by the night. Then came the growl. Low and guttural, it rippled through the air, reverberating within their bones. In unison, they turned their flashlights towards the sound, expecting a deer or maybe a bear. Instead, what emerged from the foliage was a towering figure, a gaunt, emaciated creature, stretching impossibly high, thin limbs accentuated by patches of mottled gray skin. The spindly fingers ended in sharp claws, and where its face should have been, there was only a hollow space, dark and void like the abyss itself. Fear gripped them, the air filled with an unspeakable dread as the Lurker lunged forward. Instinctively, they ran, a cacophony of panic echoing through the woods. Each step was a race against the darkness that chased them, the haunting growl now transformed into a chorus of howls. "Split up," Ellen shouted, desperation and terror twisting her voice. The group fractured, scattering into the dense labyrinth of trees. Heart pounding in her chest, Ellen dodged branches that reached for her as if trying to snatch her back into the predator's grasp. She could hear the others shouting, calling for one another amidst the chaos, but their calls faded, lost to the cries of the creature behind her. In her frantic escape, she stumbled upon a small hollow at the base of an ancient oak, its roots curling like fingers around her. She wedged herself in, heart racing, as she tried to quiet her breathing. The sounds of the forest had turned ominously still, only punctuated by the familiar growl that grew steadily closer, echoing in the vast silence. Moments felt like hours as she pressed her back against the rough bark. She could see the Lurker approaching, silhouetted by the faint light of the moon peeking through the trees. Its movements were unnaturally fluid, making it both graceful and terrifying, like a predator savoring the hunt. Then, as it drew near, something shifted in the underbrush to her left. A rustle. She dared to peek, a mix of dread and curiosity overwhelming her. In the shadows, she spotted another figure, a faint glimmer of silver. It was Mike, desperately hiding among the ground cover, his face a mask of fear. Her instincts screamed at her to call out, but something in her gut told her to stay silent. The Lurker's attention turned toward Mike. It stalked with slow, deliberate movements, methodically closing the distance. Mike was too frightened to notice, his eyes wide and vacant with fear. For a split second, Ellen thought about helping him, but even as they had run together, she felt the creature drawing nearer and needed to protect herself. Their eyes locked across the clearing as the Lurker lunged, and with a guttural snarl, it vanished into the shadows, leaving only a chilling silence. Hours passed before dawn broke, pale light filtering through the canopy. The woods were tranquil again, but the sense of dread lingered in the air. Ellen emerged from her hiding place, her heart heavy with the weight of survival. She had escaped, but not her friends. As she walked back to the town, the sounds of the forest felt different, as if the lurker was waiting, patient and omniscient. Ellen never spoke about their fate. Instead, she became another cautionary tale, a chilling reminder that sometimes it is better to leave the darkness undisturbed. The shadows of Grey Hollow held many secrets, and some, like the lurker, were best left forgotten.